We know how important being employed is. And so Fifth Third is partnering with Next Job and Riviera to be able to support you in the goals that you have around becoming employed, better employed, or if you're unemployed, finding your next job opportunity. Fifth Third, really briefly, has about 160 financial centers across the state of Florida. So we're in your community. We want you to know how much we appreciate you joining this session. My colleague, Kayla Alessio and John Reiser are on the phone. Feel free to hit us in chat if you have any questions or have some additional things you feel we can support you with. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Kim Cambria, who is a job coach at Next Jobs. You will not be disappointed. This is great information. And please raise your hand for the job coaching scholarships. My son applied for one and got one, and he was working within 6 weeks because Next Job was able to remove the barriers to why he couldn't find work. So really pay attention. This is going to be great. Kim, over to you.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me just a minute to pull it up. Okay. Okay. So I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me. For those that have listened to me before in a webinar, you know that I love what I do. I love helping people find their way. I've been in staffing and employment for almost 20 years now. My career started out in recruiting. And so I'm very familiar with being on the other side of the table, doing the interviewing. So I took all of that head knowledge and all of that experience. And now my goal is to share it with job seekers and really just take the mystery out of the process. There's so much going on in the job search landscape right now. So we're just going to go ahead and dive in. And just as a reminder, we're giving away 5 scholarships today, which means if you are on the call, you could very likely work with me one-on-one for 2 months. I could help you, set you up for success with regard to resume writing, interview preparation. We could customize your situation, your resume, any kind of marketing collateral that you're looking for. Fifth Third is paying for all of that for 5 people. And that is such an amazing gift. So I just can't stress it enough. I want you to log in today and take advantage of this program. So this is just a quick snapshot of what our website looks like when you log in. So every single person on the call has access to this for free. And so when you saw on my very first slide, it showed an access code. There's going to be that access code on a few slides at the very bottom of the screen and also on the very last slide. I want to make sure that you know if you log into nextjobtraining.com and use that Fifth Third access code, you can have all of this information for free. But with the scholarship, you have the opportunity to work with a coach. So that's how it's a little bit different. So I'm curious if anyone on the call, even any of the hosts, I would love to hear from you. If you've had to write a resume recently or even in the past, tell me what that felt like for you. What kind of emotions does it evoke? If you found out you had to update your resume today, start looking for a job today, how might that make you feel? Anyone brave enough to kind of share their thoughts?
You know, Kim, I can share just to kick us off. I actually just got a new job at the bank and I hadn't done my resume in a while. And it was kind of daunting. I didn't know what skills to put forth. I didn't know what I should say. I didn't know what would be valuable. And it's honestly, some of it, I forgot some of the things I had done. And so it was just kind of daunting. Like, what do I say? What do I do? And I got it done, but you feel a lot of pressure. I felt a lot of pressure.
Absolutely. I love the word daunting, Esther. That's perfect. It really is. I mean, whether you've been in your career for 20 years, 5 years, or you're a college graduate, it's daunting. You don't know what to share and what not to share. You don't know how much to share. So again, my goal today is to take some of that mystery out of the process for you. So what I want you to understand today is resumes are tools that are used both for application and also for marketing. It's really important for you to understand that this is it's a snapshot of where you've been, but more importantly, it's going to represent where you want to go. And a lot of people don't recognize that. They just do kind of a dump of everything they've ever done, and they don't really give a lot of thought to where do they want to go and how to position themselves. So if you've been doing the same thing for the last 5 years or the last year or 20 years, but you want to do something slightly different, you will need to make an effort to kind of speak to that in the summary at the top of your resume. You might also add some classes that you've taken or a certification that you've potentially just received to show this new direction that you want to move in. If you're taking a class right now, you could put on your resume, pursuing this, or planning to take a test for this particular certification soon. So that gives them an idea of where you want to go. So the employer uses the resume to screen candidates against their open positions. And your resume should sell you as a solution to the employer's immediate needs. And again, that goes back to the idea of you will have to tailor your resume to every job you apply to. And I know that sounds like a lot of work, but the idea is you want to present yourself as a solution. When an employer is hiring, they're either looking for a need to fill a job or a seed to fill a job. And when you look at the job description, you can pretty much understand if it's a need, they want someone to come in and do maintenance, just to continue to do the work that's already been started. If it's a seed, if they want to grow something new, if they're looking for someone to do something new, create something new, then you need to position yourself as someone who can do that. Maybe it's a sales position and you've got to grow a territory. You've got to be very specific about showing that you can do exactly what they're looking for you to do. So your resume content tells the employer about your background, your qualifications, your skills, your loyalty, your passion, your desire to learn, your leadership, creativity, and innovation. So that's a lot of things that your resume can actually tell someone about you. And I'm curious if you will go back, look at your resume and say, has it checked all of those boxes? If not, how can you check those boxes? So before we get started into the whole resume, what it needs to look like, you need to understand that there are 3 potential layers for resume screening. And if you haven't done any interviewing yourself lately, you might not be aware of this screening process. So the first layer is the applicant tracking system. So this is a software application that screens all of the resumes that are received for that open job. So whether you apply on LinkedIn, you apply directly to a company's website, or Indeed, there is artificial intelligence that's going to be screening your resume, looking for keywords that were in that job description. So first, the ATS is going to scan it, screen it, figure out if you're a good match. Then the recruiter is going to potentially screen your resume. And then if there's a hiring manager, they're going to forward it on to the hiring managers. So your resume may be seen many times before it actually reaches a human being. And that's what I think is the biggest part of this that you have to understand, the artificial intelligence. So your resume has to be created for success for every layer of that screening process. There is a tool called JobScan that I'm sure most of you are not familiar with, and I'm going to share this with you today. And I'm going to kind of change screens really quick. Give me just a second. Okay, so this is what JobScan looks like. This is a website that you can go to for free, and you can actually use this 4 times a month for free. And I'll explain the benefits of this in just a moment. First, I'm going to explain to you what JobScan is. So JobScan is a tool that was created by someone who was looking for a job several years ago that got super frustrated because he found out about these applicant tracking systems that were scanning his resume, and his resume was going into the black hole and not being found, and he didn't understand why. He kept getting these, thank you for your interest in our position. If we're interested, we'll call you. That's called an automatic receipt. If you apply online, you typically get that automatic receipt. That's how you know for a fact you're dealing with an applicant tracking system. So I want to show you when you upload your resume. Let me click this white button here. We're going to upload a sample resume, and then it's going to upload a sample sample job description, and I want you to see what happens. This is kind of what happens behind the scenes. You will never know all of this is going on when you apply to a job, but when you actually apply, your resume is given something called a match rate, okay? Remember when I said you have to tailor your resume to the job that you're applying for? This person only got a 55%. Now, I would imagine they probably thought they were a much better fit than 55%. Now, what I do want to point out is if you notice here, it says add more missing skills into your resume to increase your match rate to 80 or above. So for whatever reason, 80 is a very good score. We might assume that 100 is the best score, but I guess 80 is a really good score. So keep that in mind if you use this tool. So now I want to show you what the system was doing when it was determining what kind of a match this person was, because these are the things that you have to consider when you're crafting a standout resume. So there were skills and keywords that this person evidently left off of their resume. There was 3 very important high value skills that they did not incorporate into the resume. And that's an automatic red X. And too many of these red X's, and you are going to see that you're not going to get a call for the job. This next one is job title match. Now, unfortunately, it knows if you have been in the job title before, or if this is a brand new job title for you, if you're applying to something totally different. So this is the way for the system to help the recruiter understand how well you actually match the job. So job title match, education match, if there are certain requirements, certain certifications, etc., it knows if you have these or if you don't. The date formatting, this is an important one. A lot of people, when they create a resume, they will only put the year of where they worked on the resume. For example, I work for Next Job. I've been here for 8 years. So if I put, whatever 8 years was ago, I don't even know what that was, but whenever I started with Next Job, if I put that year to the ending year, 2021, I would be leaving out some very important information for the applicant tracking system. It actually wants to know the month that I started with Next Job. So you have to put the month you started and the month you ended, as well as the year. And so again, if you don't put that information, you will get an X right here, and it's considered deceptive. And a lot of people don't know that. So I want to make you aware of that. This next one here actually counts the words in the resume. If there's too many words, if there's not enough words. So you want to be mindful that you have enough content in your resume to justify the job that you're applying to. And you don't want to overdo it either. Usually 1 to 2 pages is very sufficient for a resume, depending on your level of experience. And if you have over 20 years of experience, sometimes 2.5 pages is very appropriate too. I've seen resumes 3 pages that are developers, programmers, information technology professionals. So kind of keep that in mind too. But for the most part, 1 to 2. This next column here, measurable results. This is where the applicant tracking system is going to interpret whether or not what you did had impact. In other words, if you increased sales, or you generated revenue, you saved the company time, you saved the company money. You might say something on your resume like you ordered office supplies. But if you take it a step further and you say you ordered office supplies, you negotiated contracts to reduce the amount of money you were spending each month, now that's a quantifiable, measurable result. So the duty is you ordered the office supplies and you negotiated the contracts. The impact is how you save the company money. So the way you differentiate yourself from the competition is to show the impact of what you did and how the company was, how they benefited from your work. So there's all sorts of great information in this report that you can actually get. See, these are the key words that this person left out of their resume, and this is why they probably will not get a call. So this is a very interesting concept that might be new to a lot of you. I recognize that. So if you have any questions, I want to invite you to ask those. I'm going to pause really briefly. Does anybody on the call have any questions about this applicant tracking system and applying online? Okay, well, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to go right back to my presentation, but feel free to take yourself off of mute anytime, because I know this is a lot of information to take in. So these are just some tips to create what we call an ATS friendly resume. In other words, your resume is going to communicate really well with the system because it's going to be parsing, it's going to be sorting, it's going to be storing, and it's going to be ranking your resume. Okay. Let's see. So we've got someone that said, just a comment, I love behind the scenes information from the recruiter's perspective. Yes, isn't it interesting? You don't know what you don't know. That's reality. So again, that's what we want to do for you. And again, working with a job coach one-on-one, they will blow your mind with all of the information that they can share with you to set you up for success, because they know all about the job search landscape. So some of the things you want to kind of keep in mind, we talked about some of these things, how to kind of beat the ATS. You want to save your resume in a Word or PDF format. That's the best way to apply online. Headers, text boxes, and shading are okay, but the ATS does struggle to read graphs and columns. So there's a lot of designer resumes out there. There's a lot of resume builders out there. I don't know if you've ever heard of that term before. JobScan has a resume builder. Cultivated Culture has a resume builder. Cultivated Culture is another one of those free job tools that I just showed to you. And it's a fantastic tool. Cultivated Culture is free all the time. JobScan is only free, I believe, 4 or 5 times a month. So Cultivated Culture is really the one that I would recommend, but they didn't have the ability for me to show you that report the way JobScan does. So I wanted to be able to share that here today. So, but knowing that if you have a designer resume or you use graphs or you throw your picture into the resume, the applicant tracking system actually does not like those things. It doesn't read those things. Oftentimes they turn into symbols. There's just all sorts of strange things that can happen. So you want to be mindful of that. You want to use a standard font like Calibri or Arial. That's one of the most common fonts to use right now. A pop of color is okay. I actually love using navy and black, maybe some gold and black. Depending on the position that you're applying to will determine how creative we get with the coloring. But there's definitely an option to do something like that to infuse a little bit of personality, but you've got to be professional. I can't stress that enough. So we talked about the date formatting, having the month and the year, traditional bullets. This is a big one. Sometimes people will use unusual bullets because they think it's creative, but the applicant tracking system doesn't like those. So I would suggest you just stick with the standard bullet. Now, if you're emailing your resume to someone, then you can be creative. You can use the decorative bullets. But if you're applying online, using an ATS system, you want to be aware of these things. Also, no abbreviations. So don't put, the abbreviated degree, put the full degree, Bachelor of Science, whatever your degree is, write it out completely. I would also suggest if you have too many acronyms on your resume, that could throw the system too. You might want to spell it out once or twice, depending on the way it is advertised in the actual job posting. So just something to remember there. So 3 quick tips for writing a strong resume. You've got to format it wisely. That's what we've been talking about. The applicant tracking system is very sensitive. So you want to do that right. And then you've got to hook the reader. You've got to draw them in. You've got to, and that's really the first quarter page of the resume. You've got to be able to draw in that reader, show them that not only you have the ability to do the job, that maybe you have a unique skill that will allow you to do the job even better up against your competition. So, we kind of touched on focusing on duties and impact. We probably should put impact in big letters right there, because that is how you are going to differentiate yourself from the competition. So, for those of you that have ever done hiring before, there's levels of what you call kind of reading a resume, scanning a resume, and you want to make it super easy for the reader to see that you're a great fit. So when they get your resume, or even when a new client emails me a resume, I do this exact same thing. I'm doing an overall scan. Does it look good? Is the template sharp? Then that deeper scan, do I see any misspelled words? Do I see any punctuation that is not appropriate? Anything that's standing out at me? And if there's anything in this first scan or the second scan that causes me to go, as a recruiter, I might not make it to that third, deeper content review scanning stage. And you have to understand that. So you have to get past all of these scanning stages with the person who's reading the resume. They're looking for, like I said, initially anything that's a red flag. And if they don't see it, they're going to start reading. And so some common resume headings that you would want to have on your resume. We were talking about, Esther was talking about when she had to write her resume, it was like, oh my gosh, I haven't done this in a while. What do they want to know? What should I put on there? I would say the required headings are your contact information, which goes at the very top of the resume. You've got your summary, which goes right beneath your contact information. And that's a couple of sentences that speak to why you're so great at your job. Why should I call you? I say your superpower needs to go into that section. It kind of tells them, what makes you so unique about what you do, and maybe how many years of experience you have. Your work experience, that's pretty explanatory, all the jobs that you've held, your most recent job first, and then you go backwards, and you typically only go back 15 to 18 years, but every job seeker is a little bit different that I work with. And we kind of make the call based on what they're trying to accomplish in what they're applying to. A summary of skills section. This section is literally a listing of your skills. For example, Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Maybe you're familiar with Zoom. Whatever, maybe you're a forklift driver and you've got certain certifications. This is where you'd have a skills section for the applicant tracking system to recognize you have certain things. This section is specifically designed for the ATS to pick up on words that were in the job posting. Then you've got the optional sections. Now, you don't have to have these, but some of these are pretty fantastic. You can have a career highlights section if you've been given awards or nominated for certain things or asked to lead certain projects, testimonials, volunteer work. I'm going to go into testimonials a little bit better, personal interests, military service, certifications and licenses, awards, and associations. So these are just another grouping of headings that you might want to consider adding as you want to give this person a snapshot of who you are and what's important to you, and maybe what they need to know about you to know that you're going to be a good fit for that job. So standing out in the crowd. So it's all about the first quarter page of the resume. It really is. You've got, like I said, hook the reader with 3 to 4 sentences that tells them what you do and what you deliver. So if you're customer service, it's how many years have you done this? So you always want to give some kind of a label or a title. This is who you are. This is what you do. You are a new business developer. You're a project manager, customer service representative with how many years of experience, and maybe even include the industries. If you've worked in banking or you've worked in telecommunications or you've worked in retail, whatever it might be, specify that for the reader as it relates to the job that you're applying to. And if you're bilingual, throw that up there. You can say bilingual customer service representative. So you want to also speak to the job direction that you're targeting. So if you're changing careers, it's really important that you specify the direction that you're wanting to head into. If you recently obtained a certification, again, you want to specify that you want to utilize this experience that you've had over the years to move into this space. So skills and attributes that you offer, any unique qualities that you bring to the table would be great to throw into this section. And of course, who your work impacts. So I always tell my clients, think about 3 things that you want to be known for, maybe 3 to 4, and write those down. Give that a lot of thought, though. If you want to be known as innovative, or if you want to be known as an exceptional communicator or a problem solver, whatever it might be, write those things down. And then when you're finished crafting your resume, go back and say to yourself, where have I shown them that I'm an innovator? Where have I shown them that I'm a creative problem solver? You know, you need to have specific places built into your resume, hopefully in lots of different areas that are touching on those things so you can reinforce that brand. So I was telling you that the top of the resume is one of the most critical components of the resume because it either gets the attention or it doesn't. So back in the day, we used to use an objective. I'm curious if anybody ever, maybe you still have an objective on your resume. And if you do, I want to encourage you to consider removing that and using something called a headline and a branding statement and a summary. And these are examples of what I mean by that. So this person is a sales leader, an innovator, and a new business development manager. That's what they do. And think about it this way. If the applicant tracking system is looking for certain keywords to consider this person a match, wouldn't it be really smart to add those keywords up here? Because then it instantly says, wow, this person is what we need them to be. And this is the impact that this person brings to the table or to the position. They deliver improved customer value through business and technology alignment. So again, this is a headline, this is the headline, and this is the branding statement. Here's a second example. We've got a certified fitness instructor, a personal trainer, and lifestyle coach. That's what the person does. Now I'll tell you how she does it and what she does, working to bust through barriers to improve health and wellness in corporate America. So she's not just in a gym. Notice that. Some personal trainers go into your home and they help you personal train. Some are doing it at a gym. She's doing it for corporate America. If she didn't give me that information and she just gave me this information, I might not grasp fully what she's capable of doing. So don't sabotage yourself by not giving enough details. So these are some of the specific things that this person does. She's a motivator, educator, and a designer of personalized performance programs built to help improve lives by achieving better health and wellness. So again, this person is very different than just a typical fitness coach. She is helping change the way corporate America views these things. So you want to say to yourself, does my summary stand out? What have I dialed up in my summary? What is going to be most attractive about my summary to, by a potential employer when they're reading it? Here's another example. This person is delivering 11 years of exceptional customer service in the financial and consumer credit industry and recognized for creating a positive customer experience and creating process efficiencies that streamline data gathering and management. Tapped as the go-to problem solver for escalated customer service issues. So I highlighted this. It wouldn't normally be orange if you had it on your resume, but I highlighted it because I wanted you to see that this is that person's superpower. This is what they're most proud of. And I can promise you that this particular job likely tapped into the fact that they needed to be able to solve problems, deal with difficult customers. I'm sure they touched on that in the job posting. So this person was very intentional and about putting it in their summary. So right out of the gate, the reader and the applicant tracking system can see that they're going to be a good fit for the job. So here we just kind of checked a couple of boxes. We know their level of experience, their years of experience. We know the target position. It's very kind of general customer service. We know personal qualities, positive customer experience, creating process efficiencies, and how they made things better. So those would be some great things for you to jot down about what you do. And so as you're writing your career summary, these are things that you might want to consider getting in there. So here's another quick example. I call this a hybrid objective summary combo. So this person actually was a forklift driver. And actually, I'm sorry, this person was not, if I'm remembering correctly. They transitioned to this when they got this certification. So we've got certified class 2 forklift driver seeking to take next career step within a warehouse that values teamwork, recognized by class instructor for strong leadership skills that will advance workplace safety initiatives. So if you don't have any work experience, but you took a class, notice how this person really leveraged their relationship with their teacher and infuse that sentence up there that suddenly causes me to believe, okay, this person must have been top of their class. So you can infuse things like that that will cause the reader to feel confident in what you're bringing to the table. So they've got here, capable of conducting minor repairs, troubleshooting, and maintenance procedures, capable of working overtime, extended hours, even on weekends and holidays, thrives within a team environment, physically strong, powerlifting background, allows carrying 50 pounds easily. So these are things that were in the job description. They made it a point to say that they could do these things. And so they also talked about their certification up here. So what a great way to start out a resume to let them know that that person is absolutely capable of doing the job. And now, before we go any further, I wanted to talk about gaps in employment, because maybe some of you are worried about a gap that you have on your resume today. I have here a list of all sorts of reasons of why we, as recruiters and coaches, find out about gaps. People have stopped working for various reasons. Maybe it's health issues. I mean, COVID, goodness gracious, we are still in a pandemic. A lot of moms have had to leave the workforce to stay at home with kids to be able to keep the family going. So a lot of the women are going to have a large gap in their employment because of COVID. Some people have had to care for an aging family member. Some were laid off, some raising children, relocation. There have been hurricanes and things, natural disasters that have caused people to have gaps in employment, incarceration. I have spoken and done a lot of work with those who have been justice involved. I have I taught job readiness for like 5 years at a jail, and there's nothing I love more than helping those individuals kind of reset and find their way. So I know all about gaps in employment. I also worked for a company called Innovative Outsourcing in Atlanta that specialized in helping moms re-enter the workforce professionally, not just 100% sales commission jobs. So these are women that elected to leave their amazing careers and stay at home for 5 to 10 years, and then they wanted to return. And there's a strategy behind that. There really is. So again, if you haven't already considered, applying for the scholarship, I really want to encourage you to do that, because again, we can customize your situation and set you up for success. So if you were fired, there's addictions and there's divorce. So there's so many different reasons for gaps. And I'm not going to go into this slide too much more, but as you can see, almost all Americans have a gap for some reason. So knowing how to display the gap, I think, is very important. You've got to be able to understand how to show it on a resume and also how to articulate your situation in the interview. But today is all about resumes. So you oftentimes want to create a place filler for your gap. Yes, I said create a place filler. Now, the only time you wouldn't want to do that is if it was a health scare of some kind. My husband is a cancer survivor, and we would never put on his resume that particular time, because it might alarm potential employers. He's doing fantastic now, and we're so proud of that whole recovery and everything, and it changed our lives, but we don't want to put it on the resume. But most of the other gaps you would want to put on there, and you can give yourself a job title, and you want to include the dates that the gap is accounted for. You want to outline activities, skills, and accomplishments that you acquired during this time. Maybe you acquired some new skills, what we call those transferable skills. Maybe you were managing the budget at home, and you now have experience using maybe some QuickBooks online, tool. So there's all sorts of skills that you can gain when you're caring for an elderly parent. Whatever your situation was, there's usually an opportunity to share some skills that you learned during that experience. So when possible, you want to bring closure to the gap. So in other words, if your kids have graduated, you can state that, and I'll show you in just a moment how to do that. You want to communicate as effectively as you can that your gap will not occur again. Because remember, hiring is all about risk management, right? So if they're afraid that that gap might cause a problem again, they might be reluctant to bring you in for an interview, much less make you an offer. So here's an example, a very brief example of what I'm talking about. So we've got a home manager. We've got the dates where either mom or dad stayed at home, worked inside the home, raising and homeschooling 3 children who have now gone off to college. You can close that loop however you want to. You can list additional skills here under home manager if you want to do that. Here we have a caregiver. This person cared for their father during a very difficult time. And this is very admirable when people do things like this. I was a former recruiter. So when I saw a gap in employment, or someone told me I elected to stay at home with my kids, or I took care of my parent, or I went back to school. Here's one down here at the bottom, went back to school full time. These are all very admirable things. But if you don't put them on your resume, it might cause the employer to go, I wonder what happened during, from 2016 to 2020. There's just nothing there. And then they have more questions and they have answers. They might put you to the bottom of the stack, and very likely they're not going to call you to get the answers they need. So you want to be able to give them some context for what was going on during that period of time. So hopefully that helps all of you if you're experiencing any of that right now. Some accomplishments. Having accomplishments on your resume is a very powerful thing to prove that you will be able to make a positive impact to the employer. And you can demonstrate accomplishments through various sections on your resume: your summary, your job descriptions, awards sections, accomplishments, and volunteer work. So you are able to make an impact everywhere you go every day. And sometimes I think people take for granted the work that they do because it's just what they do. But this person who's going to be interviewing you, they don't know you at all. And so you need to be able to share with them some of the great things that you've done, whether it is volunteer work, whether it is actual formal work or paid work, or whether it was an academic environment. So you cannot be shy. You cannot be so humble. Sometimes I work with job seekers and they're like, Kim, I just don't like to toot my own horn. Well, you have to, because if you don't, you will get stuck here in the rest of this little crowd down here. We've got this picture. This person stands out because they have they've gone out of their way to really demonstrate the value that they're bringing to the table. So sometimes awards and accomplishments are very obvious. They're maybe bestowed by others, top sales performer, employee of the month, and then other time, they're not quite so obvious. They're actions that you took that had a tangible impact or benefit to the company. Again, you streamlined a process, saving everybody time. Maybe you saved the company money. Maybe you were asked to lead a project. Maybe you took the initiative to lead a project. There's all sorts of, again, don't take it for granted, the things that you did. You want to kind of take a step back and say to yourself, for every job that you've had, what am I most proud of that I accomplished there? And what's funny, oftentimes I ask people that question, and what they tell me is often not on their resume, which is a huge problem. You want to make sure that's on your resume. So here are some examples of those accomplishments and how you would see them on a physical resume. Increased territory sales by 27% in the first quarter by, and you want to tell them what you did. Sometimes people just say increased territory sales by 27%. That's good, but it's not great. I think the great is the backstory. So be sure to give some of that backstory. It makes the bullet more impactful. This one is a great for a warehouse environment. Sustained 0 safety hazards by proactively maintaining clean and organized warehouse environment. That's a big deal, 0 safety hazards when you're in that type of environment. So again, this might be something that people kind of take for granted, that they didn't have any incidents, but this is something that you can absolutely share on a resume. This next one, they achieved Store of the Year among 40 stores, and it goes on to tell you more. Received Outstanding Performance Award 5 times in 3 years for exceeding performance goals. So that is fantastic. And again, if you note at the bottom of the screen, we've got the the go to nextjobtraining.com, and here's your access code to be able to have access to our website. So I just want to kind of point that out. Testimonials. This is a heading that probably many of you have never thought about for your resume. You probably never even heard of it, but you know how we all like online reviews. Probably most of us are doing more online shopping today than we were doing 2 years ago, that's for sure. And a testimonial is kind of like an online review. You do have recommendations on LinkedIn that are true online reviews, but a testimonial is built into the resume. It's a reference, it's a quote from someone you've either reported to, someone you've worked with, someone you've done volunteer work for, someone that you managed, whoever you want to put here. You want this quote to have a great impact based on the job that you're applying to. So strong testimonials are going to include specific skills and accomplishments, personality traits, and it's going to give that name and title like we have here below of the person who's giving it. So if it was someone you reported to, imagine how much more weight it would carry than if it was someone who just worked alongside of you. That's very different. So think about that. This example says Trish is a visionary and a connector that gets things done no matter the hurdles that pop up along the way. She makes things happen with grace and a sense of humor. She's a strong team leader who keeps morale high and manages every detail. And all of this coupled with her gift for writing make her a huge asset to any marketing team. So think about if this were built into a resume, how much more chemistry would be created between the reader and the individual because they're seeing this reference before they even talk to the person. So I have a feeling if they see this, they're going to be very inclined to call the individual to want to talk to them further. So this is a great thing for anyone who's looking for a job. Now, incorporating effective job descriptions. You want to set the stage for the reader. You want to offer a brief summary of the organization you work for. If it's not well known, maybe the size of the company, what they do, maybe they build windows, they have maybe 2 employees, that gives the reader some context for where you worked. You want to provide a brief summary of your role. A couple of tips for this are describe duties in detail with keywords from that job posting, because remember, the artificial intelligence is going to be scanning for those things, and so is the person who posted the job. Those are the words and experiences and verbs that they're going to be looking for. So I want to make sure that you infuse those. You want to focus your bullets. And what I mean by bullets is this bullet right here. It's if on your resume, you would have your duties underneath a job title, and you want to focus those bullets on the relevance to the reader. So if your last position was at a preschool and you're not applying to a preschool, maybe you don't have to give quite as many bullets there. Something to just kind of think about. And you want to make your bullets count. You want to start every single bullet with a power verb. For example, managed, designed, implemented, collaborated with team members too, created reports. Always start with the power verb and it will make more of an impact. Here are a few resources that if you struggle with writing a resume, these give you amazing job descriptions. They give you sample resumes, cover letters. All of these resources are 100% free. Job Hero happens to be one of my favorites. Monster is also a fantastic one. Career Directors is for people who are director and above level. So many great resumes there that you can get ideas for your resume. So personal interests. Some people will say, Kim, should I put personal interests on my resume? If your resume is already 2 pages long, you don't need personal interests. But if you are someone who has had a gap in employment for a long period of time, and you've done some other things, personal interests might be a great way to kind of fill in those gaps, whether it was volunteering in a particular space, whether it's hobbies, maybe you taught a jazzercise class. These types of things will give the reader a lot of ideas into kind of your personality. And if you're kind of a jazzercise coach on the side, that tells me that you're probably a motivational type person. You're probably fun, you're high spirited, high energy. So we read into the things that you're willing to share. So personal interest will absolutely enhance the chemistry. Sometimes the reader might say, oh my gosh, they're into baseball, I'm into baseball. She's a baseball coach, I'm a baseball coach for my son's team or whatever. They show a balanced lifestyle. They convey transferable skills like I was talking about. They demonstrate compassion when you do volunteer work, and they make you likable. And I can't just stress this enough. So when I used to be in recruiting and it came down to a couple of candidates and I was trying to determine who to bring in for a face-to-face or who to actually make the offer to, many times when they were all equal in terms of just everything that I saw on paper, the thing that would kind of push it over the edge for me was who volunteered, because that person is already demonstrating to me that they're a team player, that they love their community, they give back, they take the initiative, and the other people maybe didn't take the time to share that with me. And that's really important. So standing out in the pandemic, if you've worked remotely before, you want to incorporate remote friendly keywords into your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile. You can talk about leading groups of people in other locations. If you've used Zoom, like for example, today we're using Zoom, there's WebEx, there's Skype, there's Google Meet, there's BlueJeans, Microsoft Teams. There's so many different video conferencing tools. These are really great things to infuse into your resume simply because of the pandemic. So to wrap it up today, I want to remind you that when you're writing your resume, you want to be conscious of your audience. This is critical. You want to tailor your resume to the job you're applying to. So don't send a career summary at the top of the resume that says something about a forklift driver to a customer service position. You want to make sure that you tailor that effectively. Have those remote friendly phrases. You're going to probably need more than one resume. Like I said, you're going to be tailoring it. And if you have a designer resume, make sure that you only email that, because the applicant tracking system is not going to appreciate that. So I am finished with the presentation today. I definitely want to open it up for questions, and just want to reiterate that we would love to work with you one-on-one. So if you're interested in a job coach, please apply. We would love to set you up for success. And I guess I'll turn it back over to Kristen.
Thank you, Kim. That was wonderful. Great information. I just wanted to let you know, as I don't see any questions out there, that we did have a $25 gift card to give out. And I just wanted to let Gaynell Taylor know that I will be contacting you to get your address to send this out to you. So congratulations. Thank you for joining. And our next class will be the same time next Tuesday. So please sign up and join us. We'll also be giving out another $25 gift certificate and 5 more free coaching scholarships. So we're super excited. And again, thank you, Kim, from Next Jobs, and thank you, Fifth Third Bank, for putting this on. Thank you guys, and I hope you guys learned a lot from this session, and have a great day.